Hello, my name is Andrea, and I'm a solutions engineer at Couchbase. Today, we're going to spend the next 25 minutes or so talking about database as a service. First and foremost, welcome and thanks for choosing to attend this session, and I hope you will find eventually very entertaining and enlightening. Let's review the outline, right, of why we are here today. Well, first and foremost, as we spoke with our customers over the years, we realized that, of course, multi-cloud deployments are no longer theory, right? But they are reality. They are here with us. And our customers were looking for a solution that would allow them to manage the complexity of multi-cloud in a way that must be secure and fully automated. More importantly, with the era of multi-cloud, the risk of ending up being locked in within a cloud vendor, right, arose and was a matter of concern and had been a matter of concern for our customers out there. And so the idea, right, is to listen for the cry of help of our customers and try to provide a solution that will allow them to be finally free by the threat of a cloud lock-in. So today, I'm going to introduce to you our database as a service offering and solution that will provide you a centralized multi-cloud deployment management, right, in a fully automated fashion with no need, no risk whatsoever of ending up locked in with a cloud provider. But first, let me introduce you Couchbase, right? For those of you who may not familiar with us, I mean, during Connect, during these 3 days, you're going to learn a lot about us, right? But let me just make you a quick and brief summary, right, of what Couchbase is and what we provide. So we provide a database, right, that is enterprise cloud, enterprise class, multi-cloud, and no SQL, right? Enterprise class, multi-cloud, no SQL database. And I mean, these 4 sections, right, that are highlighted in colors, right, will tell you a long story about what we do, right? A database that is ready for the enterprise, that was designed from the very beginning to be run in the multi-cloud scenario, which is no SQL, which frees, right, and liberates you from the structures, rigid structures of relational databases. I mean, many solutions like this are out there in the market. What makes Couchbase unique? It's that it's cloud native. So it was designed from the very beginning to be run into cloud environments. We did not adapt it to that. We embraced that from day zero. Our architecture is fully distributed, meaning that there is no master slave kind of dependency, right? But you can truly scale the architecture, right, in a linear and specific way, right, fulfilling the promise of a distributed approach. We provide the best in-class SQL-like language for JSON that goes by the name of Nickel, right? And this language allows you to reutilize all the skill that you might have for SQL in the no SQL world, and essentially reuse a lot of this knowledge, right, and a lot of the skills within our own technology. And last but not least, we encapsulate use cases spanning from multi-cloud deployments to deployments into mobile devices, right, in one unique, elegant platform. And this is, again, something that you can only find within Couchbase. Let me talk about the architecture. Well, I mean, typically this would be a workshop of 4 hours or so, but we're going to have just a couple of minutes to talk about that. And this wheel diagram kind of tells you the very foundation of what you need to know about Couchbase. At the very center, you're going to see our core capabilities, right? The foundations upon which everything else is built upon. Memory first architecture, right? So we are a in-memory database that allows you, right, to access data as fast as memory is, right? So super fast. We provide you ability to persist the data within disk, right? And elastic scalability, which means that if you are deploying Couchbase in containers, you can take full advantage of these elastic architectures, right, in order to scale up and down the architecture responding to the need of a workload. We provide you support to run transactions, ACID transaction, either at the single document level, right, or at a multi-document level. And last but not least, by any means, ability to replicate in one direction or in a B direction, right, active-active or active-passive, if you will, across different clusters. So again, these are the core foundational capabilities upon which we build services and the layer of integrated data access, right? These are all services that can scale absolutely independently. We call them multi-dimensional scaling. What are the services? Well, we have the key value access, right, to the data, where if you know the key of the document that you're looking for, you can just access it. And this is by far the fastest way that you can access the data. We're talking about microseconds for access the document. Then we have a query and indexing server, right, a service that allows you to use Nickel, if you remember, the SQL for language that we invented. And Nickel, right, will allow you to write queries and query information from JSON by means of the querying and indexing service. So if you're familiar with relational database, you kind of guess, right, what query and indexing is all about. Then we have an analytics engine, right, that allows you to take advantage of a massive parallel platform, right, that is embedded within Couchbase, right, in order to run use cases, right, that are typical of the big data environments. We provide you with full text search capabilities in order to search within the documents, right, using a full text kind of search. Eventing, right, the ability to respond in changes of data and trigger certain actions. And last but not least, as we introduced before, mobile, right? If you want to run Couchbase within a mobile device, right, because it can be convenient to do so, let's think about use cases where offline first might be a good paradigm, right, good choice in the architecture. We are 100% behind you with that. So these are the way that you can access the data that are stored within the core of Couchbase. On the outer layer of the wheel, we have some features that allow you to make agile development at scale. We're talking about full stack security, right? So your data within Couchbase, it's secured at rest, but also over the wire, right? And you have the guarantee of that. We provide you, right, full support for deployments, old school, if you will, in the typical distributed system, but also in containers, right, and into the multi-cloud. We provide to you with a unified programming model, right, by means of several SDKs for some of the most popular languages out there, right? But essentially, that SDK is everything you need to take full advantage of Couchbase, right? And last but not least, big data and SQL integration. This ties back specifically to the analytics engine, if you will, right? But comes to the realization that probably Couchbase will not be the only data platform in your company. So if we need to make any kind of synergy with big data or SQL-like solutions that are already available within your organization, Couchbase is out there, right, to make the best synergy possible. So let's talk about the cloud deployments model. So how can you deploy Couchbase, right? And the idea is that with the database as a service offering, now you can deploy Couchbase, right, in any kind of deployment models you wish to do. The self-managed on-premise, this is the old school way, right, where you are responsible to run the infrastructure and you're responsible to run and operate Couchbase upon the infrastructure. You can define and decide to go self-managed on infrastructure as a service. So either a third-party cloud provider, right, or any kind of private cloud within your company will provide you a managed infrastructure upon which you can deploy Couchbase in a self-managed way, right? And that goes with you installing Couchbase, right, and operating that in the old school approach, if you will. Or you can take advantage, right, of our Kubernetes autonomous operator that will allow you to specify templates, right, of clusters that you want to spin up and operate them in an automated fashion, if you will. Last but not least, the database as a service approach, where you do not have to worry, right, of running the infrastructure, and you do not have to worry about running Couchbase. Everything you need to do is just throw data out of Couchbase, right, and use Couchbase to get the best intelligence out of the data that you are storing within the solution. So now let's talk about Couchbase Cloud, right? We gave you this little overview. Let's see what this Couchbase Cloud is all about. Well, in order to review Couchbase Cloud, let's just start highlighting some key features, right? I mean, as you would expect, it's fully managed, right? So you do not have to worry about either the infrastructure side of the house and the application side of the house. Again, just specify how big of a cluster you need to run, right? And this solution will take care of the complete architectural and software side of the house for you, right? And everything you will be left with is just start ingesting the data and use the data, right, in order to run your business. It's completely automated, right? And we're going to see how we can do so in a moment. It's secure in a two-layer fashion, if you will. First, the encryption at rest in flight, right, which is very, very important, and it's true for any kind of flavor Couchbase deployment. But also, in our architecture, we allow you, right, not to move your data around different clouds, right? You're not moving your data to our premises, but your data will remain to the VPC where your data belongs to. And that's very important. It's flexible. We take advantage of elastic architectures, right? So we are capable of absorbing huge workloads in an elastic way. It's highly available, and this is, I mean, a distinctive feature of Couchbase, right? To be fault tolerant and self-healing, right? And that means that we are capable of surviving the loss of nodes, right? And at the same time, how to heal, self-heal, right? The cluster with no need of human intervention. And on top of that, we are capable of enforcing best practices without the need of you knowing them, right? We know them, we script them within the cloud, and you do not even have to care about them. And last but not least, from an economics perspective, besides the hourly pricing that we believe is very aggressive, right? We provide you discounts, right? If you would like to prepay some credits, right, in order to run in the Couchbase cloud. But more importantly, we provide you full freedom in using whatever kind of VPC you may have available, right, at the moment, and that gives you the power to broker the best deal available, right, with the VPC vendors out there. So there is no risk for you to end up being logged in and in a disadvantaged position with a cloud provider. In order to understand a little bit better how we can automate, right, the suite, we need to talk about the autonomous operator. And I mean, not sure how many of you are familiar, right, with what is an autonomous operator for Kubernetes, right? But essentially, the idea behind them is that historically, containerized applications, right, microservices approach was a good approach for all those kind of applications where it was okay to stand up a container, run a couple of operations, and just kill the container. In a way that goes by the name of stateless, which means that you're not storing any state of the application, right? Because essentially the state it's no longer necessary, right? And you can think of a good example of that as logins, right? If you have to verify some credentials, once the credentials are verified, you're good to go. This is not good, of course, when you're dealing with a database, because I mean, database, it's by definition stateful, right? And you have to store the state of the application. And so historically, database vendors, right, database technology could not take advantage of elastic environments. And for these reasons, autonomous operators were eventually invented, right, to provide support over Kubernetes, over containerized application for stateful applications. And an autonomous operator in general, it's an application-specific controller. So there are different autonomous operators for these different applications, right? And it's an extension of the Kubernetes API, right, that allows you to run stateful application over Kubernetes. And what is more important, right, it's the way that they are designed allow any vendor, right, any creator of an autonomous operator of building in the operator itself some application-specific logic to automate some common tasks. So when it comes down to Couchbase, right, we were able not only to allow within containers, right? And so all the services, the multi-dimensional scaling we talk about, can now scale elastically as containers. But at the same time, we were able to build in the autonomous operator things like auto-provisioning. You provide a YAML file, and the YAML file will translate into a running cluster, and you do not have to do anything about that, right? Everything, it's managed by the autonomous operator. Auto-recovery. If a container goes down for whatever reason, the autonomous operator will take all the necessary steps to spin up another container, add that container to the cluster, do all the actions necessary to get then the container operative, and just reconfigure the cluster by pulling out the old container that is no longer active. And I mean, we can do a number of things on top of that. We can do automatic cross data center replication. We can enforce a number of best practices when it comes down, for instance, of policies of noisy neighbors. We can manage automatically things like upgrades and rolling upgrades. So there is a lot of logic, right? It's like Couchbase. It's not only giving you the technology, but it's also shipping in a mini site reliability engineer with a strong skill set within Couchbase to give you the peace of mind that the architecture is run in an efficient way. So this being provided, how does Couchbase Cloud works? So The entry point is a single pane of management, right? It's Couchbase, cloud.couchbase.com, right? You would just go log there. And from there, right, you may have already a number of VPCs available. In this example, let's start with AWS, right? So you want to deploy an application, right, a database, a cluster within your own VPC, as we said. So from the single pane of management, you will instantiate a connection to your own VPC. And from the single point of management, an instance of the autonomous operator, right, the management plane, will be deployed within your own VPC. On top of that, the autonomous operator will deploy the data plane, right, everything that is necessary to handle the data. And let's assume that the application that Couchbase is going to support runs in this very same VPC. The application will be just ready to talk with Couchbase. And as you can see, the data, it's not leaving the VPC. The data will remain where the data belongs. We're just using the single pane of management to control the management plane, but we are not moving the data around. If you have an instance on the GCP, rinse and repeat. If you have an instance on Azure, again, right? And in this configuration, we can have one single entry point to deploy different clusters across different clouds, but also we can replicate data across different cloud providers, right? So you can have replication between two regions of AWS where you might have some VPCs, but also AWS to GCP, GCP to Azure, and so on and so forth. What are some key features, right, of Couchbase Clouds? Why should you consider to use that? Well, first, it's backed out by the most powerful NoSQL platform, right, that is available in the market, which happens to be Couchbase. Your data is secured and isolated within your virtual cloud environment. As we said, let me say that one more time. It's very important, right? Your data, it's not moving around, will just remain in your own VPC. You have the ability, if you wish so, to create disaster recovery sites in the cloud from the on-premise using our replication technology. Sorry for that. You're going to have one single pane of glass of management for multi-cloud deployments. I'm going to show you right after in a few slides. Don't worry about that. And last but not least, if you run the numbers, right, we believe that we provide to you the best price per performance of any SQL offering out there. Seeing is believing. So let's see it, all right? All right, let's check out Couchbase Cloud in 10 minutes or so. So as I mentioned, the entry point is cloud.couchbase.com, right? And you can access that by a browser. You're going to need the sign-in credentials. And if you don't have them, you can sign up, right? From here, you can request an activation ID, read that as a tenant ID, right? You can belong to different tenants, right? If you do not have it, you can always request a free trial by this link right here. If you need to create an account, you're going to have the full name, email address, and passwords, right? And after that, you're going to be able, right, to create an account. If you're ever already an account, like I have, right, you're going to just create your own credentials and sign in. All right, this is the interface, right? The single pane of management for Couchbase Cloud. Here on the right-hand side, right, you're going to see that all the information that is related to your own account, which is fine. Here on the right and left-hand side, you're going to see your tenants, right? I actually belong to two different tenants, Field Engineering and Couchbase. I'm going to just stick to Field Engineering for this demo. First and foremost, you're going to have the dashboard. In the dashboard, you have the bird's eye view, if you will, right, of what's happening. The clouds, so these are the VPCs that you have brought in and configured, right, within the Couchbase Cloud. The projects are folders, right, are logical groupings, right, and organizations of groups of clusters, right, and these can go by they can go by the name of departments, if that makes sense, or names. We're gonna see in our case it's names. In your case, maybe department or project, right, can be a good way to go about that, right? But ideally, this is how you organize different clusters, right, from a logical perspective. Then you have the clusters and the users, right? And here you can see, for instance, if for the clusters, right, there is any kind of situation going on, right, you're going to have that bird's eye view. So let's navigate our options on the left-hand side. Clouds. As I said, here is where you attach, right, you configure your VPCs in order to decide where to deploy your clusters. We happen to be a big AWS shop, as you can tell. But if you go connect cloud, right, you can specify the cloud name, what is the region that is available, and the CIDR block, right? And this is how easy, right, you can essentially configure a cloud within the Couchbase cloud. Then you can specify the project, which are the logical groupings, if you will, right? And again, in our case, we go by the names of the different sales engineers within Couchbase, right? You can go by anything that might make sense to you, but again, you can give the project a name, right? And specify who can view and edit. So ACL, it's built in, of course, on the project level. Then you have the clusters, right? And the clusters, right, are essentially the bread and butter, right, of everything that we're looking for, right? These are the active clusters that are running over different providers in different regions, right? And they belong to different projects. How can you create a cluster? Well, it's super easy. Just click create cluster, give the cluster a name, right? Let's give a name where, I mean, this is shared with everyone in Couchbase. So let's give a name that everybody will understand. Andrea is the best. You specify what is the cloud, the VPC to be used. I would just go with, existing cloud. And I'm happy with the sales engineers EMEA because this is the group that I happen to belong to. I have the confirmation that we are connected, and also what is the existing project. And in this case, I will just stick to my own, folder. I can then create a cluster, and here we have to specify the sizing. Here you can read it as we are specifying a YAML file, right? Upon which we're giving the specs of as to what kind of architecture the autonomous operator should create. And I mean, there are some predefined sizes for you: quick start, key value optimized, query optimized, full text search. And I mean, if you click here, you're going to see that depending on the size, right, you're going to have key value optimized are SML, right, depending on the number of nodes, but just data. But if I look for the query optimized, right, you're going to see here, we have 3 nodes for data service, 1 node for the indexing, and 1 node for the query service, right? So you can mix and match it. If you would like to specify something that it's not covered by a template, you can always have the chance to select the custom deployment, right? And then full text search. In the full text search, right, it's yet another sizing option that you have available. I'm just going to stick with a quick start and extra small, right? Just one node running all the services. And then I hit next. And everything, right, that I'm left to do is just verify that I'm happy with the selections of the VPC, the number of nodes and the services of the node. And then I need to specify what is the support plan. So I need to specify what is the time zone, right, upon which I would like to be linked support-wise, and also what kind of support I would like to receive, right, for Couchbase Cloud. We have 2 options, right? They go by different costs in credit, right? Because, of course, the level of services are different. I'll just stick to Developer Pro and just be happy with that. And once we are done with that, right, we can start hitting deploy. And just like so, right, the autonomous operator, it's now standing up the Couchbase cluster for us. So typically this may take a few minutes, right? I don't want to leave you hanging for the few minutes. So before this session, I already created yet another cluster called Andre 1 Kenobi, and I can walk you through what you would expect, right? So it's not going to be a thorough deep dive, right? I mean, during Connect, you can understand and deep dive your knowledge of Couchbase way better, right, than what I can do in just a few minutes. But ideally, right, you're going to have an overview where you can have the status of the nodes. You can have the overview, the status of the buckets, of the replication sessions and the services. You can browse, right, for all the different kind of metrics that may be reasonable for you to inspect, right, in order to understand the health status of the cluster. As I said, you have access to all the different services that are running over the different nodes with some KPIs. You have access to the buckets, right? And you can either add a bucket if you need, or just inspect the statistics of a specific bucket, right, if you wish so. You can download the connection information, how you connect to this database, right? And here you will find the external endpoint, the private endpoint, right, and the root certificate, and you're going to have everything you need to interact with this cluster. You can set up replications, right? So if you're not familiar with that, take the opportunity within Connect to learn how to make XDCR, right, within Couchbase. You have a full utility for backing up and restore, right? You can either specify a policy for auto-saving to have the peace of mind that your data and backups are secure, but of course, you can also trigger the backup manually. And last but not least, we have a number of tools, right? And I mean, between looking for existing document within your Couchbase bucket, right? I don't happen to have any, But I mean, things like the full text search. So if you want to specify an index, right, to run full text search, you can do that within Couchbase Cloud. If you want to import some data in an easy way, we provide you utilities to import data in a format of JSON or CSV. So if you happen to have that information already available, this is how you can get yourself started. If you just want to try out Couchbase Cloud, right, without bringing any of your data, again, we provide you with some sample data that can give you a head start. Last but not least, you can create indexes, right, for the indexing service, right, and that will allow you speeding up your nickel queries. And last but not least, the query bench. So again, you're going to see a number of sessions, right, in these days within Connect, right, as to how you can use this very, very incredible tool, right? All it's necessary for you to remember, right, in this session is that within Couchbase Cloud, you're going to have the tool available for you. What else is necessary to underline? Well, users-wise, you have the ability to create essentially all the kind of users that may be necessary, either a Couchbase Cloud user, someone that is capable, right, of manipulating the resources within the Couchbase Cloud, right, instance and tenant, but also a specific database user, right? So a user that you're going to use to connect to the database. In terms of activity, you have auditing capabilities, as you can see here, right? I do not happen to have that much over the hours. Let me see today. Yeah, we have a few things going on, but of course, this depends on my access level. You have a utility that will allow you to keep the billing in check, right? And making sure that you have control on what's going on and how many credits you're using, right? So all of that, it's built in. If you need to open up a ticket to support, boom, you have a window, right? And you don't have to remember email addresses or email formats. You just come here, right, and specify what is your problem, and the ticket will be open to the support team. If you have any feedback, rinse and repeat. We built in everything here for you. And last but not least, right, if you do not remember how to do something, right, or you never know, I mean, you have the link to the documentation, which is pretty handy. All right, this was a crash overview of Couchbase Cloud. And before saying goodbye, right, let me just leave you with some homework, right? This is going to be 30 seconds. Well, I invite you to kickstart your Couchbase Cloud journey, right, today. And first and foremost, learn more about Couchbase Cloud. And I mean, under our website, under products, there is a dedicated section for Couchbase Cloud where you can learn more, right, of what I introduced to you today. You can try Couchbase Cloud. As I remember, you can use that today with a 30 days free trial. So there is no excuse whatsoever, right, not to try that. You can try that, link your own VPC, right? And if you don't want to bring in your data, just use some of the sample data we made available for you. And engage with us. So on YouTube, right, if you look for Couchbase Cloud demo, you're going to have a link to that URL right there. Right? This is yet another demo that we made available, which is probably more in depth of what I shared with you today. But last but not least, the forums, right? If you have questions, remarks, comments, you want to engage with other customers out there that may be using Couchbase Cloud already, just go there, right? And it's a great place to share knowledge. All right, that was it. I hope you found this session entertaining, and I will hope to see you around, and happy Couchbase Cloud. Thank you. Bye.